Good morning. It's June 6th, a lovely morning, only 16 degrees. Cooled off overnight. The forecast said scattered thunder showers, but I really don't see any sign of that. Just going to, yes, our next door neighbor's house is sold. So we'll have new neighbors and we're going to be curious to see who they are and if they keep the house or tear it down. Just going to kind of walk in the neighborhood today since I took that long walk yesterday. We'll go up to Victoria, I think, and walk out west along there and then see where that takes us. Then it's a podcast day. Christian Cameron, also writes as Miles Cameron, is my guest for the podcast that will air today. Talked to him, just week before last, I guess. I did 3 interviews in 3 days, and so I've got them lined up here now because I do every 2 weeks. That's like 6 weeks done in a week of interviews. Still the transcript. I'll do something with the transcript, but I'm not trying to rush and get the transcript out at the same time as I get the podcast itself out anymore. Too much pressure. And after all, I'm just doing it for fun and to promote my own stuff and to enjoy talking to other authors. So there shouldn't really be any pressure on me. This is Connaught Crescent. It's the shorter of the 3 crescents, and it's only a half crescent because it runs into Davin School back there. Hopefully I don't walk into too many bungee jumping cankerworms. I always point this out, a very strange pairing of houses there. The very tall modern one and the very short old blue one. Not much space between them. There's trucks parked everywhere, but there he is. An interesting mixture, I always thought. Or adjoinment? Sure, let's call it an adjoinment. If you're there on Facebook or YouTube, say hi. It took me until yesterday to realize that YouTube commentators can actually see each other's comments if they have the right view. I think the reason it slipped by me was that I always watch it as a full screen when I watch Walking Commuter, the guy that inspired all this, on YouTube. And I usually watch it on the TV, actually, through the YouTube app on Apple TV. And if you do that, you don't see any of the comments. And so I just assumed that's the way everybody was watching it. But of course, if you're just watching it on the website, you can, in fact, see the comments. So I've been interested in that house. It's a more modern one, but interested to see the inside. It's been redone nicely over the past few years. New stucco. Our house needs new stucco. But first things first, we're building a deck, and putting a small extension on the back. Well, yesterday I had people checking in as soon as I started walking. Today there's nobody. Everybody's sleeping in on a Sunday, locally, doing other things. Yesterday I took a very long walk out along the Devonian pathway, farther than I've ever walked. I used to ride my bike out there. Long time ago, when the earth was young, and so was I. Not that I'm old, at least I prefer not to think of myself that way. Such a pleasant temperature this morning. Not much to say since there's nobody checking in to say hi. I'll just walk. Something crosses my mind. Not even my wife is watching this morning, so she doesn't always, but sometimes on the weekends. Of course, the other question is always my mic, with this new mic arrangement. And on Facebook, it's always a question of whether or not I've got sound. I don't know unless somebody tells me or until I get back and check the recording. Adjust my shoe here for a minute. There, that's better. Unhappy dog. You see flowers are starting to show up in people's yards and gardens. Now that the frost seems definitely behind us. Dogs. Another reason I prefer cats. No barking. Occasional meow. I don't dislike dogs, but just more of a cat person. It's interesting. You'll get cat people who like dogs, but there's a lot of dog people who hate cats. I don't know about a lot, but certainly some I've met over the years. Probably, if it doesn't rain, I'll have to think about mowing grass again today, I guess. A more pleasant task when it's cooler, too. Boy, I had so many people right on top of this yesterday when I started, and today there's nobody. Well, if there is, they're not saying anything. If you are there, say something. If you see something, say something. Came this way so I could walk up by the cathedral. It is Sunday, after all. So I'm kind of going to church. Not that I'm Catholic. I'm going to go by the church. Holy Rosary School here. The old part is very old, over 100 years old. Again, I think it's closing. Not 100% sure. It was certainly in the news that they were considering it. And there's the cathedral spires coming into view. So we're approaching 13th Avenue. Although I think instead of walking along 13th up here, I'm going to walk through this little bit of park to my left. Hard to see now through the leaves. It was easier to see the cathedral before all the leaves got on the trees from this angle. All right, but I'm not going to walk around in front of it this time. There we go, cathedral on a Sunday morning. We're going to go this way. Again, this building on my right. Oh, Bonnie. Enjoyed the old neighborhood. Yes, I remember. I walked by one of your former house on one of these walks. This used to be a nunnery, and now it's condos. And it appears to have a daycare on this end. There's a lilac still blooming pretty good. They're starting to fade, but that one still looks pretty prime of life. Oh, and there's my first unstable internet warning. I think it's the trees to a certain extent. I asked my wife, the telecommunications engineer, and she says that yes, leaves can affect the signal. Leaves and humidity. Because certainly I get more of these unstable internet warnings than I did before it turned to spring completely. I sort of started in late winter, very late winter, middle of March. So I started walking in the snow with the lake still frozen and all that stuff. And I got fewer internet unstable warnings. So it might be connected to the weather and the leaves. And who knows what else. Could just be my phone. It's not an old phone. It's not a 12. It's an iPhone 11 Pro, so I would think it would not be too bad, signal-wise. Working our way up to Victoria is the plan. And out west by the lawn bowling club. Somebody had posted a picture of these streets, or another street, but one's like this with the trees arching over top of it. Said these are the tunnels of Regina, which is true. There is, of course, a famous attraction in Moose Jaw, a town I hope to get to and walk in one of these days. Because I did write Historic Walks of Regina and Moose Jaw. I could actually, maybe I should read my book before each of these walks so I could see if there's anything I should comment on. Because I remember them sort of fragmentary. Anyway, there's an attraction in Moose Jaw called the Tunnels of Moose Jaw. One is fairly historical. It's about Chinese immigrant workers and some of the spaces they worked in. The other one is a bit more fanciful. There's long been a folk tale with perhaps some evidence of fact that during Prohibition, Al Capone, when it got too hot for him in Chicago, would come up the Sioux line to Moose Jaw. And Moose Jaw was, believe it or not, the sort of Wild West town. Here's the Connaught Public Library. I like that building. Been in there many times and done readings and stuff. My wife and I even did a wine tasting event in there once. So the story is that he was in Moose Jaw, and they played with that in the Tunnels of Moose Jaw. So if you go, you get this tour down. There are tunnels that go under the street, and It's all set up as if you're buyers of bootleg whiskey coming into Moose Jaw, and you have to stay ahead of the cops. It's a lot of fun. So if you're ever in Moose Jaw, and once those things are happening again, I don't know if they are right now or not, or this summer, but it shouldn't be long now, check out the tunnels of Moose Jaw. And if you're in Regina, walk down a street with overarching elms and enjoy the tunnels of Regina. There's been legends for a long time that there were supposedly tunnels that ran from the Hotel Saskatchewan all the way to the train station, but I don't believe there's any truth to that rumor. Would have made some sense in the winter, getting people's luggage there, but it's quite a long distance. Morning. Okay, we're going to go to the, it's power out here. We seem to have a four-way stop going on. Flashing red light, of course, means a four-way stop. And we'll walk down this way, which I've only done in this direction once, I think, maybe twice. This, of course, is Victoria Avenue. Big boulevard with the trees in the middle as well. As you get closer to downtown, you get bigger houses along here, but because the older ones are closer to downtown, generally speaking. Oh, there's a big one over there on the corner. This will take us past the if you look down here, you'll see at the end of the street, you can see a little bit of Mosaic Stadium down there. Just the other side of Saskatchewan Drive. So far, nobody has said hi on YouTube. Yesterday, I had 6 people watching me at one time on YouTube, according to the statistics afterwards, which, that's the kind of high numbers I get for these things. Facebook, I might see that there's been 6 or 7 views for the live stream. The recording, that'll pick up more. University of Regina walk, always popular. I had, between the live stream and the recordings, probably 30 or 40 people watched that one. Not going to make any money doing this, though. Higher numbers than that. Oh, there's a better view of Mosaic Stadium down there. Of course, I've walked by several times. I'll take a turn through the playground here. Nobody's playing. That would be an outdoor skating rink there. No ice. No ice. So it was up around 90 yesterday, Fahrenheit, 32 Celsius, and even warmer the day before that, or 2 days before that. It's the playground. And the other side of the trees there is the lawn bowling club. Some newer ones, obviously. Looks like they built one big one and then split it down the middle with an axe. Whoops. Watch your feet. Oh, there's somebody on YouTube. Oh, and somebody else on Facebook, I think. To see if I can... Anne, hi Anne. And HB. You like my videos? Well, thank you. I'm glad people like them. Again, the main reason is it's incentive for me to get out and walk every day. I haven't missed a day now since mid-March. I had to dodge around rain a couple of times and wait for a break, but I always got one so far. If I ever get an all-day downpour, I won't do it, because while the phone is somewhat water resistant, the Kindle isn't. Oh, and there's Roger. Well, I guess I'm not alone after all. Is there any lake nearby? There is, actually. I walk around it every Friday. Part of it. So this is the lawn bowling club, as it notes here, and I believe there's a typo I've pointed out before. Founded in 1912. Regina Lawn Bowling Club operated from several locations before settling here in 1932. And it's hosted several national championships and the North American Challenge. And it's behind those trees, those bushes. Again, it's a lot easier to see before the leaves came out. Yes, Regina has at its heart Wascana Center, which is, if you take it's a lot of parks strung together, but if you take them all and put them together, it's the largest. I think if I remember from way back when I was writing about this stuff at the Science Center, I think it's the largest urban park in North America, certainly one of the largest. It's bigger than Central Park in total acreage, or hectareage. But it is more strung out, unlike Central Park, of course, which is pretty rigidly constrained as a rectangle. So I walked a long way out along the creek, and there are parts out along the way I went yesterday that are wide enough that they're more like lakes. Oh, that's not very scenic. But Wascana Lake itself is right downtown and a very popular place to walk around. It's about a 5K walk for me from my house back to my front step if I walk around the lake. And since I started doing these, I've started making it a tradition to do that on Fridays. So you can see the changing seasons if you go back and look at them, because they started in the snow. I don't have the wind suck on, or the dead cat on the mic today. It looked quite still, but here I'm finding wind. It didn't really stop the wind noise as much as I'd hoped yesterday. Today I just have the little foam cover that you usually get on microphones on my new mic, on my lapel mic. And I'm hoping even if there's wind noise, because it's so much closer to my mouth, and it's somewhat protected by that you can hear me above the wind. There are clouds coming in. Forecast did say scattered thunder showers, and I didn't think it looked likely when I first started, but as the clouds start to build up, you can think maybe later in the day. This is at Saskatchewan Drive going down here, the Luvan, which is a higher speed north-south route, and that's where they come together at that railway bridge. And then when I did my drive-through vaccination clinic, which I was in line for 5 hours, I first joined the line back there, then it snaked all the way around there, And then we were kind of staged in the parking lot of Evra's place. Sat there for a very long time and finally got to go ahead. And then it was another long time before you got to the... My daughter spent about 5 hours in line too. My wife managed to show up and get it done in about 20 minutes. So she and I are waiting for our second shot, which we'll become eligible for next week, I think. Oh, quite a cool breeze too over here. Take a little turn down the alley here just to be different. Since it's a nice paved alley. I admit, the alleys are perhaps not quite as scenic, unless you really like garages and recycling bins. It's garbage pickup day for us. Well, no, tomorrow morning is the pickup. Today's when we'll put it out before bed. And by we, I mean me. I would go straight down that alley, but there's a road between here and there, and it depends on traffic whether I'm very comfortable. It can be a fairly busy little short stretch, so I don't think I want to jaywalk over it. Well, I might. After this car, I think I can. Alrighty. Yay me. But I'm not going to go down the alley. I'm going to go to the right and go down this road over here. So that's the Louvain there, intersection. So yesterday I parked on the other side of that and started there and walked out along the Devonian pathway. Much further. Another little piece of park here. Oof. Always forgetting to look down when I step into a driveway. And it'll sometimes catch me by surprise. So just a little green space there. Buffer between the houses in the Louvain. It's apartment buildings in front of us. Yeah, I think I'll go walk in the grass. Just because I can. Go see what it's like over by the fence. Noisier, that's what it'll be over by the fence. So I'm basically pointing at the airport over there. Can walk quite a ways here along the fence. Probably take me all the way down to the path, although I don't want to follow it because Monday is my traditional walking along the creek day. It's a little cramped over there, so I'll go. I think I can Go this way through here. Wouldn't do this if it had rained recently. This would be mud. Yeah, well, I'm going to get trapped up here, I think. Or am I? Maybe I could stay on this side. Doesn't look very friendly to walkers, but I'll probably get through. There's a bit of a fence there, but maybe, yeah, it ends. So once I get past these stumps, I think I can get up onto the pavement there. Uncut grass. I'll watch my feet. There's stuff in the grass. That would be wet if it had rained recently because it's low ground. It's actually a drainage ditch I just walked through. Oh, that's better. As you can tell by the rushes over there, if there's not water in there, there is every time it rains. Yeah, so this will take us to the pathway along the creek. There's a baseball diamond up here I have to go by. This apartment building's over here. I personally would never want to live in an apartment building with exposed stairs in Saskatchewan. In the wintertime, you always have to worry about snow and ice on the stairs. Can I get through without ending up in a ditch again? Inquiring minds would like to know. I think so. Yeah, the ditch is over there. There's even a bit of a path here, so I'm not the first to come this way. Yesterday when I parked my car over by the Italian club, got out and started to walk, I immediately startled a rabbit in grass, sort of like this. Snowshoe hare, actually, I guess, to be pedantic. Okay. So, baseball diamond. That would probably be, I'm sure that's a city-owned diamond, and when there's more slow pitch and so forth going on, you would book that for your games. Never been much of a baseball player. I was in Little League as a kid, but I was terrible. I had no depth perception because of my eyes. So they put me on, they make you an outfielder because not very many kids can hit it out there. So you very rarely had anything to do. And depth perception really doesn't help when you're trying to hit the ball either. So I was a pitiful excuse for a ball player. I did have a decent baseball glove, so I must have been playing just for fun. I didn't mind playing with my friends, but organized ball, no. And slow pitch, I had the same problem. You'd think a slow pitch would be easier to hit, but again, probably because of my eyes and depth perception, I couldn't hit a slow pitch ball to save my life. I actually found it easier to hit a baseball that came straight across the plate instead of a slow pitch ball that dropped. There you go, my deep, dark confessions. So there's the creek, bit of a weir there. I'm not sure why there's a weir there. Keeping an eye on the little blue light that tells me my mic is still connected. The adapter is like the receiver doesn't actually fit in the iPhone 11, so there's an adapter, so it sticks out a good 1.5 inches on the one end of the phone. I'm going to go under the bridge, but then I'm going to climb up and go across this bridge at street level. Yesterday I kept looking for dark places because I had comments going by faster than I could read them, and it was so bright I couldn't read a thing. So far today I've kept up, since there hasn't been one for a few minutes. So this is the Pasco Street Bridge, and there's the creek ahead of us. He was asking about a lake, but this is not the lake, but it's dammed further up and forms Wascana Lake. So this is the natural creek. We call it a creek. I suppose it could be a small river, but it's not called a river, it's called a creek. All right. Go around and go across on the bridge. To start working my way back home. Oh, there's the wind. Again. Refreshing. Sherman Park. We're rewatching MASH, which is available on Disney+. I don't know how they did it. MASH was certainly never shot in widescreen, yet all the episodes are in widescreen. Whenever I see Sherman Park, I think of Sherman T. Potter. He's commanding officer after Henry Blake. It's hard to believe those things are 40 years old, those shows, those episodes. We watched, we've sort of been on a 70s movie kick. We've watched several of the, Godfather and some of the great ones, and we're watching others. Yesterday we watched 3 Days of the Condor, starring Robert Redford and Faye Dunaway, a thriller from 1975. And 46 years ago. It's hard to believe, if you're my age. Got something in my eye too. It's always annoying. But anyway, 3 Days of the Condor takes place at Christmas. So it is literally, and in fact it ends with a Christmas song, so it is literally as much a Christmas movie as Die Hard, which people are always trying to make a Christmas movie. So when Christmas comes around again, I'm going to start campaigning for 3 Days of the Condor as a Christmas movie. And I hope you will support me in that effort. Actually stands up really well. There's some high-tech stuff in it, computers and phone jacking and things like that, which looks pretty primitive now, but still, the story stands up, except for the fact, of course, that with modern technology it wouldn't work at all. Walking down Pasco here now. How long have I been out? Oh, 40 minutes already. My, how time flies. Yeah, well, I'll be heading home, which is off to the left, so the next street I get I will turn left and start my progress back in that direction. Otherwise, I end up on Regina Avenue, which is long and straight. Well, just like this one, only even more so. Getting cloudier by the minute. Well, I guess not if I look to the west. There's blue sky again. Scanner. This will inevitably take us past Sheldon Williams Collegiate in some capacity. If my daughter had gone to a public high school, it would have been this one, but she went to Luther College High School, which I was out closer to yesterday. And next weekend, I think I may start about there and go even further out along the path. And, well, I want to do Government House when its Edwardian gardens are properly up, and they should be close, because they're quite lovely. Seem to be being pursued by children. Maybe they're heading to the playground here. I don't think I'm a Pied Piper. I don't have a pipe. And I'm not pied. That song often ends up in my head because I'll say something like, I'm working my way back home, and the next thing you know, running through my head is, I'll be working my way back to you. Oh, that's Sheldon Williams over there. Although my daughter didn't go to school there, when she was in Davin School in the band program, I would bring her here for band. The Sheldon Williams Area Music Program. The Swamp. And here I am watching MASH, where of course Hawkeye Pierce lives in the swamp. Oh, let's go to, rabbit or snowshoe hare. Let's walk down in front of it. I haven't walked in front of it for a while, I think. So I would come here and drop her off, and she'd go into the auditorium doors, which the music room is close by there. And we'd come here for band concerts. Elementary band concerts are, well, they are what they are. He's a trombone player. I was a French horn player. I don't know where I went wrong. I also played trumpet for a while. Played clarinet for like 8 days. Taught myself saxophone once for a play. Fortunately, I didn't have to be good. I just had to be able to make a sound. And played bass guitar. Played upright bass for a while, but only in a plunk, plunk, plunk sort of way, not in a saw it with your bow symphony kind of way. Pizzicato. Play piano. Not very well, but well enough to enjoy. Well, it's funny. Yesterday was the 45th anniversary of my graduation from high school in 1976. When I was 16 years old, I turned 17 in July of that year, but I was only 16 when I graduated because as I've explained before, I skipped grade 1 and I also had a summer birthday, so those two things together made me always the youngest in my class. I was valedictorian. There's a picture of me in my, which I showed yesterday, because we had a Zoom get-together of some of the people who are on our Facebook group from the class of 76 at Western Christian College. So for my graduation, I wore green polyester pants, a green plaid polyester sports jacket, pale green shirt, paisley tie, and I had the pièce de résistance, matching white belt and white shoes. Herb Tarlick, eat your heart out. And if you get that reference, you may be as old as me. So my mother was very good about keeping any clippings from the newspaper that had my name in it. And that continued even after I was working at the Waverley Review as a reporter and editor. So I have boxes full of clippings, everything that had my byline on it from the 8 years I worked at the Waverley Review, first as a reporter, then as news editor. And one of the scrapbooks kind of covers my high school years. So I was able to, I'll stay on the sidewalk here. I was able to show some of those pictures. And among them were things about the various shows that I did. We started doing musicals when I was at Western, sort of. We did Oliver, but we didn't actually have the script or the rights to do Oliver. So we created it from a music book for the songs and listening to the movie soundtrack. It was pre-YouTube, so the rights holders never found out, or if they did, they didn't care. So I played Bumble in that. But this was a long way to work around to in my junior college year, because Western had 1 year of junior college in what they called an Associate of Arts degree, which was accredited by the University of Regina. They needed an accompanist for the musical, My Fair Lady, and I did it. Can't remember if I shared the job or ended up playing the whole thing. All I know is my hands have never shaken so much as they did when I sat down to play the overture for that. I was far more nervous being an accompanist than I ever am as a performer, because I trust my abilities as a performer and I didn't trust my abilities as a piano player. But I did it. And that's in that scrapbook too. Some pictures from that. And from Oliver, Sound of Music, in which I played the narrator. And Mary Poppins, again, we never did the whole thing. And Mary Poppins was not a stage musical then. We created it from, again, a music book and that sort of stuff. And again, good thing it was pre-YouTube days, because you don't want to mess with the mouse. Anyway, I played Mr. Banks in that. Let's go fly a kite. And of course, the current stage version of Mary Poppins is different from the movie. It has additional songs. It doesn't play out the same. But my daughter, in Do It With Class, Young People's Theater that she was part of, got to play Mrs. Banks in their legal production of the modern stage version of Mary Poppins. So that was kind of funny that she played Mrs. Banks, and when I was in high school, I played Mr. Banks. We haven't been in a lot of shows together. She did, well, actually, Regina Lyric Musical Theater, when she was not yet 1 year old, just before she turned one, did Carousel. I played the bad guy. But in Carousel, there's a baby because the Snows, when I marry Mr. Snow, have a baby. Colin Brewer played Mr. Snow. And we actually took a headshot of Alice and she auditioned. And she got the part of the baby. And she was very good. I mean, backstage, my wife was there and she would show her off and, you know, look after her. And then she'd go on. She got carried on by Colin Brewer playing Mr. Snow. And he'd sort of hold her up like, well, Colin didn't know nothing about no babies. And Alice's reaction, she'd twist around and stare at him like she'd never seen him before. She didn't cry that I remember. But that was her stage debut. And then at the end, as I said, I played the villain. But for the bows, I carried Alice out for her bow. And that way I got applause because people applauded the baby. They didn't like my character, but they applauded the baby. We're going to go down here and walk through Waterfall Park as we continue to head home. My home, not yours. Condo building there. And then Alice and I were in a production of Titanic, the musical, for the 20th anniversary of Do It With Class. They did that at the Connexus Arts Center on the big stage there. Brought back a lot of alumni, including some Broadway performers. So it was a very good production. And I got to play Mr. Strauss. I want to say Levi Strauss, but that's the Jean Company. Is his name Strauss? Huh. The guy who founded Macy's, anyway, was on the Titanic. And he had a lovely song with Shauna Marie Tice. And Alice was one of the passengers. Second class passenger, I believe, so she survived. And then 5 years ago, we were in The Addams Family together. She was in the chorus, and I played Lurch. Thank you. That's my entire lines. We're all... Except for the very end, he starts singing. Very, very low note. And to help me hit the low note, Rob Urson, the director, gave me a little bottle of whiskey to drink backstage at intermissions to roughen up my voice. And it worked. It helped. So this is Waterfall Park, but the waterfall is not really running very much over there. I don't know why. I don't think I'll bother going down there. But you can see it there. Yeah, it was running much more the last time I was along this way. I'll walk over here by the flowers instead. Starting to be planted. Still got a ways to go growing wise, but that's the beginning. This is the path I'll come along tomorrow when I do my traditional walk along the creek. But we'll follow it a little bit here today. I get across the river. That means crossing a footbridge somewhere. Or crossing a bridge somewhere. And then just this last April, I guess, Alice and I got to be in the Flip the Script, which was Regina Lyric Musical Theater's online production of gender-swapped Broadway songs. And you can find our performances, and my wife and I did the duet from Guys and Dolls, Sue Me. And I did the How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria from The Sound of Music, All Four Nuns. So that's worth looking up. It's on my YouTube channel as well. So all three of those are. Oh, and then Alice did Tonight at 8 from the musical She Loves Me. So that was her solo. So we were in that show together. We only performed in our living room in front of a green screen, but they turned out really well. So I do recommend checking them out if you haven't seen them already. I don't think the entire performance is available anywhere. I would presume it was taken down at some point. And even the two songs I did, both the one from The Sound of Music and Alice's from She Loves Me, got copyright hits off of YouTube, so I can't monetize them. Not that that was going to happen anyway. Hello. There's always lots of traffic on this bridge in the summertime. There's the creek going down to the lake down there. Hello. Footbridge is a popular place this morning. I'm not going to take the dike because there's just too many people running around up here. So getting close to home. I had a burst of people saying hi a while ago, and I haven't heard from anybody since, so I don't know if everybody's left or not, but if you walked with me, not too much farther to go. A fine distinction, further and farther, but I did look it up finally. And if you want to be pedantic, which of course I do, you use further for metaphorical distance and farther for real distance. So I walked farther down the street. But let's take this discussion further. A further point. Farther along the line. You heard it here first. Remember it, use it. Let us take back the fine distinction between further and farther. If you start looking for it, you realize that I may be the only person trying to do that, but because they tend to get used interchangeably, and of course language cannot be pinned down and forced not to change. But as long as I have breath in my body, I will try to do further, farther. Although I noticed that I titled this walk just the other day, Further Along the Creek. And of course, by my own standards, that should have been farther along the creek. So, mea culpa. Little Latin to tie us back into the fact it's Sunday and I walked past the cathedral to start with. Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. I don't know how to speak Latin, but I've sung it many, many times. Sung a lot of languages, German, a lot of Italian, of course, French, Finnish, one memorable song, and some entirely made up ones. Well, I'm actually surprised this was an hour walk. I thought it would be a bit shorter. But it's about what I usually walk, and I'm almost home. One of these days I'll do a non-talking walk. It's very hard for me not to talk. I'm sure if I put my mind to it, I could keep my mouth shut for an hour. It must be possible. I do it all the time working at home as a freelance writer. That's not quite true. I talk to myself sometimes as a freelance writer. When I'm by myself, I do tend to talk to myself out loud. So maybe I can't keep my mouth shut for an hour. On the other hand, that would just be like one of the Facebook streams where the sound failed, so only with more birds, I guess. Just another block to go. Your last chance to say hello if you've been lurking. Leopold Crescent and then Angus Crescent, and I am home. Home is where the heart is, home is where the hearth is, home is where the cat is, home is where the wife is, home is where the daughter is, home is where my computer is. Home is where you hang your hat, but I don't wear hats. Almost never. What, never? Hardly ever. The only hat I have that fits me is a Tilly hat. And it's a good hat. On a sunny day, I should wear a hat. Even doing this, I should wear a hat. But I do have lots of hair, so maybe that's why hats never strike me as something I need to worry about too much. Here is the traditional stopping point, this stop sign up here. So thank you for walking with me if you're with me live. Thank you for walking with me after the fact if you're with me during a recording. And tomorrow I'll do my usual walk along the creek. So until then, goodbye, have a good Sunday.